Here's another sketchbook. This is from the start of the second year of the A-level, and you can see there's some evidence of writing in here which is composed, and then this is an A3 sketchbook, so it's smaller than the ones we're used to. And let's have a look how it's been worked. So there's some investigation of working with different media and exploring ideas of sketching, hatching and using overlays. Then just general drawing, looking at different media, drawing quite simply, and then drawing detailed, complex shading and developmental work here. As we go through, we can see that there's lots of tie-in. Some of the drawings are good in places and not so good in other places, but there's always a level of engagement that you can see through this. And when you look at the portfolio, the final portfolio and the later sketchbook, you can see where some of the ideas in this sketchbook have been extended and developed, so that we have photographs, we have drawings, we have references to artists, drawing and painting over text, looking at famous artists, making responses to those pieces, making new works based on them, developing ideas, experimenting with different techniques, extending ideas, moving a little bit of sculpture in there as well as 2D materials, but applying the same kind of rigour to each of those parts, so that you see techniques used again and again, repeated in runs of developmental sequences that go over several pages, and developed out again. So we get some life drawing in here and some working with figures in wire. These are photographs of figures in wire against drawings done on the page. We get some drawings looking at individuals, and then working with different media and developing and building up textured paper and so on to explore the surface. So we're still looking at drawing, but we're now beginning to think about how you can slot together different parts of paper to produce different effects. And you can see that there's a sort of journey that goes through this, working with the same kinds of imagery but exploring combinations of patterns and colours, then looking back at art history and looking at artists and their work and making responses to their work and developing on from that. And here we can see some sketching based on Frans Hals and the boy holding a skull, which is in the National Gallery in London, and that's developed with different coloured underpainting. And the works don't have to be fantastic and finished in themselves, but they work as a series, and then those are taken out, and the idea of working with colour underneath is developed still further with some original imagery, which is then returned to the collage idea. So we get a larger image which makes a dynamic and bold spread across a double page, and that's repeated again with built up areas and less defined areas. And then we get some writing up about that. We get a series of marks to make a finished painting, which has got layers in it, and then some documentation of that, which doesn't look full and complete to me. And then we've got a series of photos that are annotated and selected and chosen to show what's going on with those. Some writing, what's going on there, some more drawing, some printmaking and drawing over other images, some sequence work, some printmaking, some etching, dry point etching, some lithography, monoprinting, some tonal drawing using different coloured pencils and chalks, a Toulouse-Lautrec, another Toulouse-Lautrec, so responses coming in there, developmental return based on looking at the Toulouse-Lautrec, trying the same image again and again in different media to explore it and experiment, see where that takes you. And again, this shows a developmental series of ideas, so you have to say that there's experimentation, there's evidence of purposeful development, and there's clear evidence of drawing is thinking, the logic of progression, the logic of working through the same image again and again and again, and seeing what you can bring to it in terms of possibility, starting with a coloured ground, starting with a washed ground, starting with a drawing, and developing it up to make a more full and considered piece. So that is that sketchbook, which has still got more stuff in it at the back based on the same thing. Look at some of these, which are then original images that are more developed as full-blown paintings, again trying different grounds, recording the work that was done earlier, so you can do the same exploratory work earlier, add in collage, add in marks before, and respond and work over the marks, so that you end up with the same ideas, the same problems contested, but solved much better. And I think that might actually take us to the final pages. We've got a run of documentation of the final works. Let's see what's on this. No, that's maybe it. That is it. So that is another sketchbook that you could present, and shows you clear evidence of research, experimentation, exploration, purposeful development, and then the refinement is in the portfolio as well.